What's up, guys? Another day in the garage. It's been a long day. My hair looks crazy. I don't get much time to work on my own cars, but tonight I'm taking the time to work on my own car. We have my beautiful E93 M3 here. It's a 2010 and we have roughly 28,000 miles. The car is in immaculate shape. I've done a lot of work to this car. We're gonna be releasing some videos that I filmed in the past about this car. We're also gonna be doing some new stuff to it and also just an overall update on the car. But today, what we have going on is something pretty deserving of filming and something kind of special. We'll get to that over there. We're gonna be doing a water pump and thermostat, but not just any water pump and thermostat. We're gonna be doing the Motorsports BMW water pump, which is special. Many people might not know about it. We're gonna be kind of going through the process of doing all of that. I've kind of skipped ahead. I've pulled the intake box out. We got two 10 millimeters here and a little couple band clamps for the intake to that. It pops right out, this little hose. You can see many other videos to see a lot of the disassembly of the intake or whatever. I'm gonna kind of speed through that and get into the water pump and why we're doing the water pump. This car, like I said, it's low mileage, but the water pump, I could tell, is original. Kind of hard to see with color, with the light and stuff, but it's pretty crusty. I've been under the car. I don't really see any leaks, but just for preventative maintenance, I'm gonna be doing a lot of track time on this car, so I wanted to get it done. I did throw away the belt. I meant to show you guys that, but the belts also were pretty cracked, so I figured, why not? Let's just go ahead and do it. Water pump feels good. Just, you know, like I said, there's a little bit of play back and forth. Just time to do it. Do a new sensor and make sure we got no problems. So, like I said, we're doing the Motorsports water pump, which is special. I'll show you once I remove the other pump what's actually different. This is what is different about it, but we'll compare the two after I'm done here and removing the old pump. This is billet aluminum. Basically, everything else about it is the same other than the fact that this is billet aluminum. The factory pump, they have a composite impeller wheel. This just helps with high RPM, not to shatter that wheel. I'm gonna be doing a lot of hard driving and I just figured why not do it and make a video on it as well. I don't think I've seen a video on the Motorsports water pump. So here we have pictured my AC belt here and my water pump belt. I am running a power pulley, so my part numbers are slightly different. I will list these part numbers. I got a 1425 here and a DP060421 for this guy here. I'll list these part numbers here down below in the description. Also, we got the 3 bolts for the thermostat, the 4 O-rings, the 2 per outlet from the thermostat to the cylinder head. So we've got 4 O-rings. I'll list those part numbers and these 3 bolts. And then we also have 4 new bolts for the hold downs for the gaskets to the head. Not needed on these 4. These 3 are recommended by BMW. They actually sent me the wrong 4 here. I just have them. I'm gonna throw them in while I'm in there. A new coolant temp sensor and a new thermostat. This will complete the job, as well as some new coolant, which we'll show you later. But first things first, you're gonna have to go ahead and pull the intake. You're gonna have to drain the coolant. You're gonna have to start removing your upper and lower belts to get, or upper and lower, upper and lower hoses to get to your belts. And also, we're gonna be doing the O-rings on these and potentially the oil filter housing. I may just go ahead and do the oil filter housing while I'm in there. Kind of a good time to do it. I didn't get the parts, but I may decide to just grab them in the morning. Might have to finish this in the morning. It is about 11 o'clock at night right now. I'm hoping that I can have most of this done in about an hour or 2. I've done this job quite a bit, pretty fast at it. So let's go ahead and get started. Alright guys, I got the coolant and draining here. It's just a little baby screw on the bottom, little Phillips head, flathead, whatever you got, big one actually, something like this size. All right, guys, I think right away you're gonna be able to tell why I'm doing this and what the biggest difference is. If you can see, this thing is straight plastic. Over time, you know, if you let this thing stay in the car too long, it could definitely break down. If you're going to the track a lot and seeing a lot of hot track days, you know, and this thing's spinning at 8,000 RPM all day, I would just be afraid that this thing might come apart one day. The motorsports racing development team seem to think the same thing. That's why they made this pump. So here we are, just throwing in some preventative maintenance. I was gonna be doing a water pump anyways. The water pumps are honestly really, really cheap on these cars, but the motorsport pump is not so much. I think it was about 500 bucks through ECS tuning. I know a lot of people like to go through FCP, so you get that lifetime. Me being a shop, I buy a lot of stuff. I just get better pricing through ECS. I don't really think I'm gonna need to do this pump again, and if I did, they would take care of me, I'm sure. Anyways, I kind of jumped ahead. It's super easy to pull the intake off on these. Honestly, my favorite platform is probably the S65. This is probably the easiest motor BMW ever made to work on. Maybe other than some of the inline sixes. Honestly, the inline six motors like the B58 and just like a regular non-turbo, you know, 535 or something can be really easy to work on, depending on the generation. But nonetheless, pulled all these, or just loosened all these band clamps here for the throttle bodies. If you look in there, I've cleaned my throttle bodies previously. I've had this thing off, so they're quite clean in there, which is very nice to see because, you know, it's nice to see my nice hard work is still looking good. Anyways, moving on. But yeah, so there's a line in the back. Most people, you know, that have done this, or there's other videos out there, you can see there's a line in the back. You remove that. There's this little line under here under the intake and a sensor. Right here, here's the connector for it. Those four things on the band clamps all the way around, and the intake just pries up basically. Super easy. I've gone ahead and pulled the 4T30 screws out of the water pump, as well as the 10mm bolts, which you guys saw me do off the face of the water pump. We're gonna go ahead and move on more to this thermostat and get to these water pipes back here and change those O-rings out. Those 4 extra bolts that I was talking about are for these gaskets to the cylinder head. I actually, I may not even mess with those. Honestly, I think they did send me the gaskets for those. I gotta check again. If they do have the gaskets for those, I don't know. I'm right here. I might just throw them in just to do it, just to say that I did it. It's not needed. You just need to do these O-rings is good, and these 3 bolts. So we're gonna go ahead and do that. You can kind of pull this line up out of the way and bend it just a little bit for the time being to get your thermostat out. So we're gonna go ahead and do that. All right, guys, so I've gone ahead and removed the thermostat housing and the 2 little pipes that I was talking about, as well as the 3 bolts. These 3 bolts are gonna be getting thrown in the trash. I got new ones right here, which I'll be putting these part numbers in the description down below. But this thermostat, I don't know if you guys can see, looking pretty crusty, and this O-ring is flat and hard. So this is why we're doing it. You know, the car does have low mileage, but it still is a 10-year-old vehicle. So there's still a good chance that this stuff could leak or fail, you know, at the racetrack, at the most inopportune time, you know, when it's really hot out. So we're just making sure the cooling system is well taken care of. After this, you know, we shouldn't have any issues. You know, maybe a line or something that I don't change, like a lower or upper. But at the end of the day, you know, you can spend tons of money going and replacing preventative parts, but sometimes it's best to not fix things that are broke. The water pump and thermostat was really something that was, you know, it's a little harder to do. It would be hard to do at a racetrack. A line or something I could probably figure out pretty easily. You know, local dealerships and stuff carry that. I might be able to run and fix the car at the racetrack, but a water pump and thermostat and all these O-rings and bolts, it'd be pretty hard to do. So doing, you know, these bigger jobs, you know, really helps. I'm even thinking about maybe doing injectors since I'm in here. I did end up pulling the 2 T30 screws here at the front and back of the fuel rail, just to give me more room so that I didn't bend the line. It's super easy. The fuel injectors just pop right up. Definitely that's the way to do it. You can see my beautiful little tiny, I don't know if you guys can see it, but it's a power pulley. It's a tiny little pulley down there, and that does help with horsepower. And like I said, I think before in the video, my part numbers for my belts are going to be different than the part numbers for your belts if you don't have a AFE power pulley. There are other power pulleys on the market, but even those power pulleys are different belts than these, I believe. So be careful, be advised, check your belts that are for you. So we got our new thermostat here we're going to be throwing in, as well as these new O-rings for these pipes right here. We're going to go with those guys. And yeah, we're going to put this thing back together here. So let's get another look. Make sure to wipe down these surfaces real good. And in here where the O-rings seal for the water pumps and the thermostats and all of this, dry it up real good. And we maybe want to lubricate the O-rings on the new stuff going in with a little bit of Vaseline or petroleum grease. We'll go ahead and show you that here in a second. All right, guys, so I got the new thermostat installed. You can see the old thermostat here. I've also got new O-rings on these pipes here and pre-installed them. I put a little bit of coolant on the O-ring and these O-rings before I popped them in to get it a little bit more slippery. With this thermostat, it's a really tight fit. You kind of just need to set it in there perfectly and slowly walk it down, making sure that none of the seal folds over. Kind of same thing with the O-rings. You want to make sure that they have a nice kind of popping in sound and that they don't roll themselves. And you can visually see too if they've rolled. Yeah, so these are in there good. We're going to go ahead and install this on the car. I've already cleaned up the surface real nice here on the top. So yeah. All right, guys, I've got my torque wrench here set to 84 inch-pounds. I'll show you guys that I've torqued these. 84 inch-pounds converts to 7 foot-pounds or 10 newton meters. So those of you, depending on what you're out there using, 10 newton meters is the spec for the water pump and the thermostat housing, and also the pulley bolts to the water pump. All right, guys, got carried away a little bit, decided to do the oil filter housing. So here I have the oil filter housing after it's been cleaned with its new gasket in place. Old gasket is here. It's actually quite hard and brittle, so I'm glad that I did it, because it probably would have started leaking if it wasn't already leaking. It did look like there was a little bit of leakage maybe below it, since there was some dirt kind of buildup, which is usually signs of some oil leak catching dirt. But anyways, super easy. You got 8 screws holding it in. 4 of them, or actually my bad, 3 of them are T45s, 2 short ones, 1 long one. And then the rest are varying sizes, 2 shorts, 2 mediums, and 1 long T30 screws. So you got 5 T30s and 3 T45s. The only other tools needed were a 16 millimeter and a 13 millimeter to remove the lower tensioner and the upper idler pulley here for the belt, and as well as the pulley for the power steering pump and the power steering pump itself. I just loosened the 3 bolts to the bracket here, and yeah, super easy. So now that that's out, you can see here the oil filter housing is out. You can see the block has been cleaned, so I've also cleaned here on the block. I am as well going to change the 2 O-rings. There are 2 O-rings on these inlet and outlets for the oil cooler. So I'm going to change those as well. And the O-ring on this pipe here next to the water pump I've already done. So every O-ring here has been done. The block has been cleaned really nice so that there's no oil residual from the spillage of taking it out. When you do take this out, there will be a lot of oil down in here. You will want to clean that. I'm also replacing the oil pressure sensor just because I'm right here. I might as well. So I've got a new oil pressure sensor. It was only like 25 bucks. So I got a new oil pressure sensor. And like I said, the oil filter housing has been cleaned. You guys can see in there, completely clean. No oil residue anywhere, inside or outside, very clean. So we're ready to install this back on the car. All right, guys, I've gone ahead and thrown the oil filter housing back on. I've torqued the smaller T30 screws to 7 foot-pounds and the bigger screws to 18 foot-pounds. It's all good and tight. The last step now is to put in the new oil pressure sensor, which I'll go ahead and move these harnesses I've got right here in my hand. We'll throw that down in there, and then we'll torque that, and we'll put these lines back on, torque them to I think it's 10 Newton meters as well. I need to check on those though, double check. And then, yeah, throw the new O-rings on and keep working on the water pump. All right guys, so power steering pump is in and torqued to 18 foot-pounds. These 3 bolts on the outside here. I've also, there's a 10 millimeter bolt that I took out on the suction line here, and a 10 millimeter bolt on the, or nut on the high pressure line to take it off to let it tip over. I've also torqued these to 10 foot-pounds. We're gonna put in this lower tensioner that goes down here onto that shock right here. I'm gonna put that thing on, and then the water pump. And yeah, super easy guys. I'll keep filming for you. All right guys, I got the water pump in and the 4 bolts torqued to 7 foot-pounds. If you like this video, be sure to check out the next one. And if you haven't subscribed yet, be sure to subscribe and like the video. It helps a lot. Thanks, and see you in the next one.